Good morning, ladies and gents. I hope I hope this stream finds you well. I've been out this morning for my. I think people are getting a bit confused about this government sponsored, endorsed exercise thing. It's not forced. It's not like you have to do exercise or something like that. But I think people are taking it the wrong way and thinking that that you have to do exercise. Although I have to say, since this whole lockdown thing started, people have been a lot more friendly. Have you noticed that? People bothering to say good morning, which is nice. I like that. But it does put pressure on you to actually respond, doesn't it? Of going, oh, good morning. It takes me by surprise. I just growl at them if they sort of look at me. And I didn't have any headphones on today, so yeah, I thought, but I rushed back to get back here, ready for 10 o'clock, ready for the stream. Because you've got to have some structure to your day. That's the rule, structure to your day. So yeah, we're gonna get on with it. Not a particularly sort of pushy one today. Not particularly like crazy detailed one, but it's equally important. It's still one of the 4Ps. So we're going to be doing about place today, and I was going to do promotion today, but I think I'll do place because Tuesdays feels like a place day to me. That means Wednesday is going to be promotion. So yeah, and promotion's good. Everybody has their own favourite type of adverts and things like that. So we'll have a look at them tomorrow. Anyway, also, what day is it? Tuesday. That means we're nearly up to MrBusinessMan's midweek madness as well. So I look forward to that. If you haven't had a look on the channel already, feel free to go back and do some revision on the midweek madness from last week. So yeah, we're gonna get on with it anyway. Let's get straight into it. All right. So it feels like we never end doing this. It feels like we never stop. But it gives us some structure to our day, which is, as I said, the main thing I like to do it for. Because this is therapy for me. Gives me a reason to get up in the morning, which is good. Other than answering student emails, which is I spend a lot of my time doing as well. So here we go. Let's get into it anyway. So not a big one. I'm not expecting it to be, again, I feel like I'm saying it a lot of the time at the minute, but I'm not expecting it to be a dead long stream today. But let's have a little chat about place. Okay, so first things first, let's get that out of the way. List as many places where you can buy a Mars bar. Okay, so I want you to have a think. You remember, just jot them down if you've got space to, as many places as you can. Where can you buy a Mars bar? All right, I'll just give you a second or two. Okay, and let's get as many as we can down. So let's have a think. I'll just think of a couple off the top of my head: supermarket, convenience shop, airport, aeroplane, bus station, vending machine, school or college, workplaces. In fact, there probably isn't very many places you can't actually get a Mars bar from. How does Mars benefit from so many retailers stocking it? Well, the main thing to think about here, and I don't want to go crazy on place, because I think it's the kind of thing that people think, well, this is really obvious, Ryan, why are you going into so much detail with it? And I totally agree that it might seem like that, but it's because people don't realise why we bother with it. And place isn't just about retailers stocking the stuff, but it's all about distribution links as well. And it's about having enough people sort of getting the product and having ability to access that product as well from different places and different sources, and the benefits that we get from doing that. So how does Mars benefit from having so many retailers stocking it? You can find a Mars bar most places, can't you? So if you're ever in the mood for a Mars bar, if you ever think, you know what, just fancy a Mars bar, there's so many places you can get it. That hopefully increases revenue for that brand, doesn't it? It hopefully gives them access to a wide range of revenue streams, all from the same product, mind, but distribute it out to loads of different places, and then hopefully we're going to be able to get access to it. In comparison to sort of like more niche products, shall we say, where you might only be able to get it from one or two places, it makes it more difficult to access, doesn't it? So why are so many stockists willing to stock Mars bars? Why are they willing to stock Mars bars? Why are so many places willing to stock Mars bars? If you had a shop, would it be something that you'd think about selling? I think personally it would. I'm surprised we don't. Maybe on the MrBusinessMan YouTube page we should start selling Mars bars, because I think they're an easy thing to sell. They're they're not necessity good, but they're quite income inelastic, really, in terms of like they're not really affected very much by income changes and things like that, because they're quite cheap. And things like that. So they're easy to sell, aren't they? And they're very staple of people's diet. People are very confident with them and things like that. So they're an easy sell. That's why lots of people want to do it. Why might Mars be placed at eye level in a supermarket instead of as its own caramel? This is one for you. I want write it in the comments for me. Is it nougat, or nugget? Okay. If it's nougat, write nougat in the comments for me. Or is it nugget? I've always thought it was nugget, but then when you hear, I don't know, I saw I think it was on a Mars advert with delicious nougat. Nougat? So since when has it been nougat? I don't know. Maybe that's the official term. I've never heard of it like that before though. Now this is an interesting one with the. Why might they be at eye level? This depends on the sort of relationship that supermarkets have with the supermarket. So the supermarket has relationships with the supplier. Okay, so in terms of that, you've got a situation where if the supermarket and the supplier have a really good relationship, they can. Well, they can kind of barter with them, and they can pay supermarkets for the positioning in the store. I know as well we've got a little bit of buffering, but I apologise for that. But hopefully it will right itself in a moment. Anyway, I think it is. It's probably just this time in the morning. People are working up. People are starting to do the work, aren't they? So I'm sure the thing is nugget. Nugget. No. It's not. It's nougat, isn't it? Yeah, nugget. I'd say nugget as well, to be honest. But yeah, it's a weird one. I don't know where this nougat things come from. So yeah, supermarkets will actually have deals in place with their suppliers, people like Mars, people like Walkers, people like that, to make sure that they can pay the supermarket for better spots in the supermarket. And why do they want them at eye level? Well, because that's the first thing you see, isn't it? So why would Asda put theirs at the lower market? Well, it comes back to our pricing structures as well that we talked about. Was it yesterday or the day before? It comes back to the pricing because it's all about psychological pricing as well, psychological positioning as well. Because, if it's cheap, where do you expect the cheap things to go? You expect them to go to the bottom. Where do you expect the expensive things to go? You expect them to be at the top. But it's a weird one with place because it tends to be anything above or below are negative places. Because you don't want the average to consumer to move the head. You just want them to just continue on and basically just move like this. And if you can see, very easily, then that makes it easier for everyone, doesn't it? If you want to put your product completely lower, so they're going to have to get on the floor to have a look at it, or if you're going to put it higher and they're going to have to just sort of like peek over something to try and get a look, then that's not going to it's not conducive to selling lots of things, is it? So they are the best spots in the place, and even the spots actually around the supermarket. Do you want it at the back of the store? Do you want it in the front of the store? Are you going to make a big display? There's lots of questions. Let's move on, but there's bigger questions to think about here, isn't there? Explain why Asda would be reluctant to reduce the shelf space of a Mars bar to put a new unknown bar on the shelf. It's simple business sense, this, isn't it? Is it worth it to the business to sacrifice some really good real estate, essentially, on space, that you may be able to sell to a supplier? I keep getting the word supplier and supermarket wrong today, but could is it worth and essentially naffing off your main suppliers as well, someone like Mortars, which are very, very dominant, for the case of a new product might sell. Well, I'd say no. I'd say don't do that. I'd say don't give up the space for the Mars bars. Even though Mars bars, if we think about product life cycle, because we talked about that, Mars are one of those that don't really change. They've been in sort of not decline, but they're in the maturity phase, and they just continue in maturity. They do decline over time, but not massively, and they tend to do. They don't really do much advertising for it either. In reading notes, it discusses legal arguments between branded goods and supermarkets. Why wouldn't Calvin Klein be pleased that more outlets are selling the goods? This is an interesting one, isn't it? So let's have a think about the opposite of it. So Mars want everybody to have it. Mars want access to stuff. Mars want as many different people to be having access to Mars bars as you physically can. Why wouldn't then Calvin Klein want their products to be on as many shelves as they can? Would Mars have a problem with having Mars bars in the pound shop, whereas Calvin Klein wouldn't? Would they have a problem with it? This is a hard one, isn't it? Because it's you've got to go up against the brand image. You've got to go up against your USPs, your own USPs, and where do you get your competitive advantage from? We talked about competitive advantage a while ago, and competitive advantage, if you remember, it's what is your USP? How do you become better than your competitors? How do you actually sort of compete with them? What's the main thing that you can compete with? And a lot of the time it's reputation, in terms of for quality, in terms of for customer service, in terms of aftercare, that kind of stuff. People are willing to pay that premium price for it. With this one, with Calvin Klein, they don't want it to be that. Want it to be luxury. They don't want loads of people having it. Same with Gucci. We talked about Gucci the other day. They don't want it. They don't want it out everywhere. They want only a couple of people to have it, because the less people that have it with a luxury brand like this, the more people want it. This is the same argument that I use against iPhones all the time, and I love iPhones so much. I hate iPhones, but that's the problem with iPhones now, is the fact that when iPhone came out, it was really exclusive. Everyone was dead excited about it. People were like, oh yeah, have you got an iPhone? I've got an iPhone. Oh, have you seen this new thing? Oh yeah, you can get this app. Oh, it's fantastic. But they actually, by getting it out to the masses, by making it more accessible, by its own sort of success, has made the actual brand less. I think people aren't that bothered about iPhones anymore. People aren't bothered about oh, have you got the new iPhone? Have you got? People will just take it as it's a staple. You're the unusual one if you've not got an iPhone. And we know that different demographics have different types of phones, and we've talked about that. We talked about BlackBerry the other day, didn't we? And the importance of that. But the thing that we need to remember is that you've got to be careful about how much you get out. Is it worth it to for Apple to ease it off a little bit? Because I think they still have. I still think that they've done it for some products. I still think MacBooks are an exclusive item. I know a hell of a lot of 16 to 19-year-olds have MacBooks, but that's more about overzealous parents purchasing overly priced products for them to be using as like thingies. I never understand that. I don't know if a lot of people are watching this on Macs right now, but this is streaming from a Mac in terms of this, but it's not meant for you. It's not aimed at you. It's not aimed at you anyway, because most people have the products where they just use it as a notebook. You think, well, just buy a Windows product if that's the case. The only reason that you would buy Mac usually is for some kind of creative media or something like that. But people buy them for other reasons. So it's a difficult one. Do you risk cannibalizing your own brand to get it out there to people? I don't know, potentially. There's an idea for it, isn't there? Okay. So let's have a little look at these. So there's not loads to do today, but define key terms relating to place. We've got to describe the different channels of distribution. Big one, people always forget about distribution. It's a really important one. Explain the factors which will influence the choice of distribution channel. Explain the effect that intermediaries have on price and the availability of products. Okay, a little bit of textbook reference there for you if you want to use that. All right. Here we go. So, what is Place? Well, we've talked a little bit about it in the beginning, haven't we? But Place is one of the 4 Ps the marketing mix. Remember, product, place, price, promotion. There are some extended Ps, which we will talk about more in the second year than we will do now, but just so that you've got them. So it's product, place, price, promotion is the ones that we're talking about more at this moment in time. You've got things like people and, things like... What's the other one? There's a couple of them. The reason I don't really like the extended Ps is because the 3 extended Ps, which was people, physical, something or other. You see, because they all fit into the 4 Ps. You don't need them. As long as you can remember the 4 Ps and you can go into you're actually going to cover them, which is a bit stupid, really. But the extended Ps are on the spec now, so it's important that we talk about them. But don't worry about them for now. We will cover them, but it's more in the second year than we'll cover them. So it says, it's no less important than the other things. Most people focus on price, product and promotion, more so promotion, I'd say, which we're not talked about yet, but people really focus on that, especially when we're talking about marketing. Think about advertising. Yeah, it's just promotion. You can sell anything to anyone. Well, no, you can't. Not necessarily. It's much harder to do that with a difficult product. All right, well, okay, so it's product that's the most important. Well, yeah, but if it's the wrong price, all right, well, so if price is the most important, well, if you can't have access to it, can you see they all just stack up? It makes it difficult to have any 1P together. You've got to use them all together. So however good the product, if it isn't available for customers to buy at the right place at the right time, it won't sell. An important point to make, I think. Now, the right place. Products need to be available for customers in the place where they want to buy. Example, 75% of groceries in the UK are bought from large supermarket chains. So if a grocery product is not stocked in a large supermarket, its sales will be severely restricted. Now, is that from the purposes of the supermarket, or is it from the supplier's perspective? This one's really... I mean, both of them are going to suffer, but it's going to be the supplier really that's going to suffer, isn't it? So what we're saying is, if you're in a grocery market, you need to get your stuff into supermarkets, because 75% of all sales are made in supermarkets. And if you don't do them, if you don't sell them in the supermarkets, then you're not going to be able to compete with everybody else. You're not going to be, you'll still get 25% of the market. There's still a hell of a lot of people. But it's a lot. It's going to significantly increase the likelihood of you being successful if you have your products ready to buy in the supermarket along with everybody else. You can see at the minute, can't you, the effects that supermarkets are having and the effects on people. Interestingly enough, if we look at the lockdown things that we're going through at the minute, if we look at those as a positive as well from some respects, because some businesses will be thinking, this is fantastic. Like, what about milkmen? We've seen milk floats going round and stuff like that. That's been the first time we've ever seen them in ages and ages. I know milkmen still exist in terms of going round, and they sell other things as well, but they don't. It's never been something that I've particularly wanted to take part in. Why? Because I just go to the supermarket. But look at the state of it. I'm stuck inside. I can't do that. So if there's someone who's willing to bring the product to me and I can make use of them, then if I was a milkman, I'd be thinking, this is fantastic. What an opportunity, to actually get the stuff out. So, you've got to see the silver lining. As good business people, we need to be able to make the best of a bad decision or a best of a bad, countrywide decision. Any situation. This isn't great, but, milkmen will be happy because they'll be making money at the minute. But do all food producers want to be stocked in supermarkets? What might put them off? Why might there be a better place? Now, this is an interesting one, isn't it? What kind of products do you think would be not wanting to be in the supermarkets despite it being lucrative for them? So you need to be thinking about things that are hyper luxury or very niche products. Remember what we talked about niche products being, or if you're American, niche. I see in the chat that we have a milkman. Congratulations. I think we might soon. We're trying to get one at the minute. It's hard to get. But what might put them off? I think it's how it's going to affect the brand image of your product. You might have a USP. You might get your competitive advantage of being a bit niche, being a bit different, being a bit unusual, a bit alternative. So if you are that, if you are alternative, if you are niche, if you are selling a product that you think, well, actually, this is, imagine if it's something like a really, really niche bread or something where we're talking, I don't know, it's got gold flake in it or something for the hyper rich. Do you really want to be selling gold flake? I mean, don't do that. But do you really want to be selling gold flake bread in Tesco? The answer's no, isn't it? Even the highest end stuff like Booths or M&S, you still wouldn't really want to be selling it in there either, because it's ridiculous. You need it somewhere like really, really high end restaurants, or these hotels where it's £1 million a night or whatever, thousands of pounds a night. Remember, if you stuck for something to watch as well, there's a fantastic Channel 4 documentary called "The World's Most Expensive Hotel," and it's about a really, really expensive hotel in. What is it called? Is it called the $1 Million Hotel or something like that? Have a look. If you go on Channel 4 and put in $1 million or most expensive hotel and stuff like that, it's about the most expensive hotel in Abu Dhabi, in Dubai, if I'm pronouncing that right. I think it is. But Dubai, it's a pretty amazing place. Have a look at it. You might have seen it. It looks like a sailboat. Really, really cool, but brilliant documentary as well. If you have a look, I think we might have watched it actually in class. But if you didn't, go and have a look. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? For an unusual thing, I'm going to find it for you. I'm going to link it. I'm going to link it in the video. So if you don't worry, I've got you. I'm gonna find that for you after this. Okay. So where might be the better place? You might, or you might not want to compete as well with these big chains like Warburtons and Hovis and stuff like that. You might be this small individual thing. Markets, farmers markets, stuff like that, that kind of stuff might be a much better place for you to sell your goods, or smaller markets, more niche stuff, more specialized stuff. And it's the same, I think, with things like your gluten-free things. They've only just started being sold in supermarkets, and I think that's good because there's a lot of people who need the free from range and stuff like that. I used to be lactose intolerant as well. I say used to. I think I might still slightly be, because I do get a bad stomach if I eat loads of cheese, but I do really like cheese. You would never tell, would you? Look at these chiseled features. I think the beard's working for me at the minute. Do you think I should just grow it out? I'm thinking I might just let it grow. The reason I've got this hat on today is because my hair's a bit messed up. So and I always try to make myself look gorgeous for the stream. But I'm letting this. Sorry, I'm getting confused. I'm getting I'm getting off track. So yeah, there could be a range of places. You've got to be sensible about where you sell it. Do you really want to go toe to toe with these people? Do you really want to go toe to toe with all these bigger brands and take them on? Just to be on the thing, or do you want something special? Do you want somewhere where you can only buy this product from? Okay, have a think about it. The right time as well. Now, products may need to be available for customers at the time they want to buy. So, at Christmas, there's often a popular toy. Often the shops can run out of stock. The manufacturers know that unless they can get more stock to the shops before the 25th of December, the sales they could have made have lost. And this is an interesting one. As I said, I used to work in children's toys, and our Christmas was about July, August time, because we would start supplying the big, Toys R Us and people like that when they were around, Smiths. We'd start supplying these people with the toys at the time. Have a think about anyone that you were interested in. What was the big toy for you? Now, I always think with this one is it's a combination of right place and right time, because you can confuse it as what's actually going on. So let's have a think about an example. Nintendo Wii would be a really good example. Do you remember when the Nintendo Wii came out? You could not buy a Nintendo Wii for love nor money. You just couldn't get hold of them. Really, really difficult to have access to. And you go to the shop and they'd say, oh no, they're not available. Now, was that because Nintendo hadn't manufactured enough? Was it because was it a really good marketing campaign that had made everybody rush out to the shops and get one? Or was it a combination of things where they had purposely kept some stock back to try and make it seem like it was really, really doing well in the shops? That is up for argument. I think, from being in that situation, that Nintendo were very sensible, and I think what they did was they created demand by you wanted one. I remember PlayStation doing it a lot as well. I think a lot of it is to do with whether you can access stuff, because I didn't want to buy a PlayStation. I have a PlayStation 4, right? I have an Xbox, but I'm an Xbox gamer, right? I have an Xbox One X downstairs. And I have a PlayStation, and I have a Nintendo Switch as well. Although I never play the Nintendo Switch, which is annoying because I should do. I've got time on my hands at the minute, so I could do, but I'm not doing. I don't play my PlayStation. Last thing I played on my PlayStation was Spider-Man, which was great, but I just don't play it, right? However, and I know that, I bought a PlayStation 3 and I didn't really play that either. It's just the odd chance that something comes out for it that I want to buy. And yeah, I don't know why I bothered with the PlayStation 4 either, because I never buy it. I never play it, so what's the point of buying one? But having heard that they were out of stock everywhere, I remember being in Sainsbury's a little bit after they were bought, and they were still up, they'd gone in with that price skimming. Remember we talked about yesterday, price skimming. PlayStation definitely use price skimming. They go in with a high amount of price and then they bring the price down over time. Well, it was still in its price skimming phase, so it was expensive. And I was in Sainsbury's not looking for one, and I saw that there was a PlayStation 4. And although I didn't although I didn't want one, I still wanted one, if that makes sense. I didn't want one because I didn't need it, I still wanted to go and buy it, which is crazy. And that just shows that threat of something not being available. I mean, look at the situation now. If you go to the supermarket now, I mean, I don't know if you guys are freaking out about not being able to, go to the supermarket and stuff. As I said, I'd say avoid the supermarkets if you can. Stick to small shops if you can at the minute, because it's not a good place to be. As I said, we do need to be aware of the seriousness of that. Hearing more people dying and stuff, it's not something to be not worried about. Don't freak it. It's important to still live your lives, but be safe. Look at the state of the situation at this moment in time. If you went into the shop and you thought that they weren't going to have any bread, what will you do? Well, the toilet rolls. As I said, people go crazy about toilet rolls. What have they done? They've gone in and bought as many toilet rolls as they can. Not because they need them, but because they thought there wouldn't be the stock of them soon. So, and that is kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, isn't it? The reason that there wasn't any of these products available, wasn't any toilet rolls available, was because everybody was thinking there wasn't going to be any toilet rolls available. So everyone ran out and bought toilet rolls, which in turn made the fact that there was no toilet rolls. Keep saying the word toilet rolls now, don't it? Do you ever do that thing where you keep saying the same word until it loses its meaning? You can do that. Have fun. Yeah, so sometimes, it's important to have that seasonality. It's important to realise that at certain times of the year. The only other one I'd say about this one to remember is stuff like florists. I remember we saw on the stream the other day, we looked at BBC News, and there was a florist on there saying that she didn't know if she was going to be able to sell anything, wouldn't be able to survive because she hadn't sold any flowers at Mother's Day because people hadn't gone out to go and buy them. That could cripple a business. There are certain days in the year, especially for florists, Mother's Day, Valentine's Day, if you do not capitalise on them, if you were ill, if you weren't able to open, if there was a country lockdown, whatever it is that's happening, you may close and not reopen because you haven't got access to that revenue. There are certain times. Same thing with like Mrs. Christmas, the shop, or places that sell fireworks. If you don't hit, New Year's and bonfire night, you probably won't do it. So it's really important to be there at the right place, right time. Key terms. Now, these are in your books, so you're very welcome to go through, but let's have a look at them. So agent or broker, what is it? Distribution channels, distribution targets, retailers, wholesalers, shelf life, direct marketing, intermediaries. Now, let's just go through these really, really quickly just so that we get the ideas. So an agent or broker is usually just is like a middleman. All right, there are someone who would sort of get in between you and a bigger company who will broker things for you. So you can have like what's the best way to describe this? Like an estate agent. It would be someone who would get in between you and the seller. because you don't go over to them. They sort out all that. A broker, you could have a mortgage broker. I'm currently using one myself. You talk to them, they have a look through all the different things that they could have access to, and they sort all the things out. So they're basically a middleman. So you can go to these people. You can, for us, in terms of retailers might not deal with the suppliers directly. They might go through an agent. There might be only certain ones in the UK that deal with Coca-Cola or deal with Walkers or whatever. They might not deal directly. They might do, but it might be easier to just go to an agent. Especially for smaller businesses, it's much easier to go to these bigger places that would have access to these big names. Distribution channel. Well, distribution channel is about how we physically distribute our products. What kind of channel do we use in terms of channel? We're talking about, Are we going direct to consumer? Are we able to sell from the website straight to the consumer? Or do you have to go to the retailer? Are you selling to a wholesaler? As I said, I know some of these words you might not know yet. So distribution targets. These are things which we have to set for ourselves. We have to set them as businesses to make sure we have the right amount of stock at the right place at the right time. Just like we would in any aims and objectives, really. Retailers, as you know, the stores which you can, normal consumers can go and buy from the seller. Very few retailers are the same as the producers, though. Even small retailers like, say you go to Topshop, if Topshop produce things, they are run as separate sides of the company, separate types of business a lot of the time. So the retail side of it is completely different than the rest of it. Like Apple would be a good example. Actually, Apple Retail is a completely different company than Apple. Apple is just is the technology company. That's all the innovation and all the stuff goes on in in America. Apple Retail is a separate company. Wholesaler. What is a wholesaler? Wholesaler is the big companies like Macro, like Costco. They buy things in bulk from the suppliers and they have them in these big warehouses, also called cash and carries. Smaller companies can go to them and go and buy things from them, but wholesalers can also sell other things, like just buy things in bulk for you. So they're a kind of agent, almost like a wholesaler. They connect you as the sort of shop. Because remember, you as a consumer really wouldn't go to a wholesaler usually. It would usually be business to business that businesses would go to the wholesaler. Retailers would go to the wholesalers, who would in turn deal with the suppliers. So they're the kind of intermediary, okay? Direct marketing. What is direct marketing? Now, I don't want to go into loads because we're gonna do this again. But so a direct marketing can be a couple of different things. So direct marketing can be essentially where you are directly connecting with the consumer. So you can have stuff like that's, on an email. If you get an email directly to you, that's direct marketing, like a text message to you specifically. But there are different ways. As I said, have a look in your book. You've got some stuff in there already about it. And we will go into more detail when we hit promotion about that. And then intermediary. A lot of these are, again, quite similar things, so they could be interchangeable. Essentially, if we're talking about a wholesaler, you could potentially just say, well, look, that's the intermediary. It's a middleman. Are they a broker? They could be. So it's basically just a middleman. It's another part in the whole distribution chain. So where does it go from? It starts at the supplier, then goes to this person, then goes to this person, then goes to this person, then goes to you. Okay, and the consumer at the end. All right, I hope that makes sense. So let's have a look. This puts it into a little bit more context for you. Distribution channel is a route taken by a product as it goes from manufacturer to the ultimate consumer. So we've got the manufacturer on the... There you go. On the left there. And... so we start with the manufacturer. Now we can do manufacturer direct to consumer. This would be sort of like a one level distribution chain, because we've only got one level. If we want a two-level one, essentially we've got the retailers, then the consumers. So we get the manufacturer, Coca-Cola, sell Coca-Cola to, I don't know, Spa, and then Spa sell it to you. Okay. What about the manufacturer to wholesaler? Well, if we had like a level 3, essentially, so 3 different levels, then we've got manufacturer. So we've got Tesco. We've got Coca-Cola. Coca-Cola sell to Costco. Costco sell to Spa. Spa sell to you. All right. So they could do that. They have. I think Spa actually have their own one called James Hall, which is their own wholesale part of it. So they deal with themselves, so they wouldn't really do that. They'd be more likely the manufacturer to retailer to consumer, I think, unless we counted the wholesaler as themselves. Usually the separate companies. And then finally, this final one down the bottom, we've got like 4 levels. We've got manufacturer to your agent to your wholesaler. So remember, those agents and those brokers might have deals in place where you have to go to them to deal with these companies. They might have agents in place around the country at different places in different countries who you need to be able to contact those specific people, those specific small companies to be able to deal with these larger companies. They'll go to the wholesalers will then sell to the retailers will in turn sell to consumers. And you've got to decide if you're thinking about starting a business. I mean, why not, guys? This is a fantastic opportunity for you to start a small business. What about an eBay business? I know it's hard at the minute. Like it's hard for you to be able to get out and about, but why not do something creative? Why not think about something that you can sell? You're never going to get this opportunity again where everybody's inside and things like this. It's a brilliant opportunity to be thinking about business, different types of business, new businesses. If you were going to, though, what about this one? What about for you? Which do you think is being affected by the external environment very significantly at the moment? Is it the ones that manufacturers to consumers? Is it the retailers? Is it the consumers? Is it the wholesalers and things like that? The more people that you have in place, obviously, the harder it gets for you to be able to maintain that, sort of the sort of supply chain. It makes it more difficult because if one of those things was to trip up, it would be more difficult to get that stuff out there, wouldn't it? But there is an argument for having the other people. Why do you think then businesses choose to have all these intermediaries in place? Does it increase price by going through so many companies? Yes, it does to an extent. Everybody's got to take the cut. It's always going to be more expensive. So why is it then, if you buy from the manufacturer, that it's not necessarily cheaper? If you look at Apple, as I said, I know we love Apple, don't we? Let's look at Apple. Why is it no cheaper to buy a MacBook directly from Apple than it is to buy it from a retailer? In fact, it can actually be more. It can be more expensive because they're exploiting the profit margins. That's it, really. So they can give you. Remember, you're not allowed to set prices in this country. It's called price fixing. It's legal. You can have recommended retail prices, but that's it. But yeah, it can increase. It can increase the prices if you've got all these different intermediaries in it. But in the same fact, it can actually decrease it crazily, because not specifically linked to how many people you've got it and how many things. But think about it from this perspective: can it decrease it by the manufacturer giving a special deal to an agent, the agent giving a special deal to the wholesaler giving a special deal to the retailers giving a special deal to consumers? Wholesalers are going to be selling a hell of a lot of different things, so you might just get a good deal. You might think, I always think with Pringles or something like that, you might see on the pack it says like 2 for £2 or something like that, or that there's a special offer, in which case it's actually better. That's probably come from the wholesaler, in terms of some kind of deal between the manufacturer and wholesaler at that time. It depends on what's happening, doesn't it? Okay. So if we did manufacturers straight to consumers, which is happening more and more now because of the internet and everything, it's so much easier to do this. You will be, you have a lot more experience of dealing with this than the average person would, because we never used to deal with manufacturers. A lot of you deal directly with manufacturers now, which is good and bad. It depends on the company a lot of the time. Direct marketing involves a business selling its product straight through to consumers. Example, mail order catalogs, online ordering through its own sales reps, factory shops. Factory shops can be things like, have you ever seen the Cadbury stores where they have offsets of stuff that they didn't sell, or they have different things? I think they have one at in Manchester. Is it Salford Keys? I think they might have one there. I'm sure I've seen one. Services usually distribute straight to the consumer or the customer in this regard. So solicitors, accountants, hairdressers. There's not real intermediaries for those. But a hairdresser could be an intermediary in its own right, because they could be the intermediary, the retailer essentially, for someone like TRESemmé, where you wouldn't buy TRESemmé. In fact, it would probably be more likely the hairdresser would deal with a wholesaler, so it would probably be TRESemmé to the wholesaler, like Costco to the hairdresser to the customer. If you want to buy TRESemmé from your hairdresser, I think you can do that, can you? So yeah, so direct marketing, as I said, we're going to talk about direct marketing a lot more when we talk about promotion, but remember, it's directly to you. It's the things which they get in contact with you. So if we're talking about promotion, direct marketing in that respect, it's talking about things like when you get directly emails, you get directly texted, you get directly phoned. That is direct marketing. It's actually coming through straight to you. Manufacturers to consumers via retailers. We've got a retailer is a service business which sells goods to consumers. Shops, department stores, supermarkets, jewelers. Retailers tend to buy in large quantities and then sell them on to consumers in small quantities. That's called the break bulk. So we break the bulk up. So we bulk buy, and we talked about, someone mentioned it earlier about economies of scale. Purchasing economies of scale is a big one here, and it depends on who has the ability to do that, because remember, wholesalers are big companies that you as a retailer could bulk buy from the wholesaler essentially. So you could say, right, well, we're gonna get some economies of scale. So you could have sort of multiple economies of scale, because you could have the wholesaler buying from the manufacturer and getting purchasing economies of scale, getting a really good deal, but then you could also get your retailer buying from your wholesaler and buying a range of different products and getting purchasing economies of scale from them as well. So there's a range of different things, and maybe that's why sometimes it's cheaper to have all these different people in play, because we're all purchasing off each other, we're all giving each other deals and things like that. Retailers also sell goods in locations which are more convenient to consumers. That's why it's so much easier. That's why we bother to do it. You don't have to bother, buying, renting really expensive space and things like that, so it's better for us. Retailers also add value to the good while they're sold through the home delivery, extra guarantees, gift wrapping. Remember, Mr. Businessman's top tip of the day: if you buy a product and there is an issue with it, who do you go back to, the manufacturer, or do you go back to the retailer? The answer is you go back to the retailer. Whoever you bought the product off, that's who your deal is. That's the Consumer Rights Act. If you need to do it, it used to be called the Sales of Good Act. But yeah, if you need to, if you ever need to, return anything, don't listen to them. Don't let them fob you off and go, oh, you have to go back to the retailer. Nonsense. My deal is with you. I didn't buy it off the retailer. I bought it off you. And any kind of after sale things like that, they should be dealing with. Know your rights. It's important to know things like that. Okay. Now, if we have a look at manufacturers to consumers via wholesalers and retailers, as I said, we've already been talking about this. I'm not going to go into loads of detail, but mostly through wholesalers delivered to retailing customers. Wholesalers break bulk, buying larger quantities. So again, it's just the same thing, but on bigger scale. So manufacturers selling big chunks to your wholesalers. Wholesalers selling you big chunks to your retailers. At each bit, we get a smaller and smaller amount being sold, and then we're sold in individual packs to you. Spar won't be buying, 100 bottles of Coke, will they? They'll be buying, 500,000 bottles of Coke, in which case they're going to get a better deal. And then when they come to you, they say, okay, well, how much are we selling it to you for? £1.50 a bottle. When did that happen, by the way? When did it become so expensive to buy a bottle of Coke? It's getting obscene. I don't like how expensive pop is becoming. Even the own brand pop in places is becoming quite expensive now. I remember it used to be like 20p for a bottle of pop, and makes me sound like I'm really old. I'm not. I'm not old. And we used to come round and they'd give us tuppence for them. Yeah, it doesn't make me. It makes me feel dead old, but it's not that at all. I think things are just getting ludicrously expensive. Finally, manufacturers, consumers via agents or wholesalers and retailers. The level will depend on the mix and when they're used. Manufacturer may use an intermediary called an agent or broker. They bring buyers and sellers together. Remember, these might have special deals in different countries. So remember, my mortgage broker, they bring me and the mortgage company together. They get paid off me and they get paid off the mortgage company for bringing us together. It's in everyone's interest, really, because they, if the broker might have a special deal where they can only get certain things. The reason I go with a mortgage broker rather than just doing it myself is because mortgage brokers get access to special deals that mortgage companies will give them. That you won't be able to get from anywhere else. That's the same as brokers with businesses. Coke might decide that, well, we'll only sell through one agent. So if you're a wholesaler, if you're Costco or Macro or someone like that, you might need to go through that agent to be able to access Coca-Cola. It's just easier because it's such a multinational company, such a lot of different things. Okay. let's have a little think about this, just greeting cards really, really quickly, okay? So what does it start with? This is probably what greeting cards does currently, isn't it? And we're not talking about a Moonpig one, all right? We're talking about an average one. So we get the card made at the manufacturer, it goes to card factory, and then it goes to this. It goes to the customer, yeah? So retailers, in the sense that they are intermediaries in the distribution of products to customers. They're responsible for the sales of the final products, and they take the responsibility for that product. They're giving it a seal of quality. They deal with the aftercare and things like that. Supermarkets, superstores, hypermarkets, department stores, independent retailers, online retailers. You do have more rights online, actually, than you do in store, because different piece of legislation come into power to protect you. So it's important to understand distance selling regulations. I think it is all under the Consumer Rights Act now, but distance selling regulations were the ones that because you bought something you weren't there at the time to buy it. You get more stuff as well. Okay. Again, I feel like we're repeating ourselves here, but let's just really, really quickly. So 0 level distribution channel, 0 level in the sense of it's just direct. Direct marketing takes place when sales occur without the use of intermediaries at all. It's where you just buy straight from them. This may mean consumers can make purchases from their home. That's what we're all doing at the minute, isn't it? Advantages for the producer include there being no intermediaries to reduce their profits. They're able to control their own marketing, and they can reach customers who may not have been reached through shops. And you can be a bit more niche. You can sell a lot more, customized stuff on your website, because you're not having to deal with all those intermediaries. You might be able to take a little bit of hit on your profit margin, potentially. A couple of different things for these. As I said, we're going to go over these again when we do promotion, so I'm not going to spend loads of time. All right. Multi-channel retailing, then, is a marketing strategy that offers customers a wide choice of ways to buy. So list as many different places or ways to buy as you can buy insurance. So let's have a think about insurance, okay? We've got insurance brokers. I just mentioned them by chance. We've got Compare the Market, so you've got some kind of comparison website. You've got direct from the retailer. You can get in touch with them by phone. You can get in touch with them by the internet. You can get in touch with them. A lot of places you can actually go into store, like Churchill and that don't have places like that, but there are some insurance brokers where you can actually go into store, and they will have stores to physically do it. State one benefit and one drawback of a multi-channel strategy for a manufacturer. Remember, the more intermediaries you have, the more likely you are to sort of come up with issues, because you're putting your brand name in the hands of a range of different people, aren't you? So if I sell Ryan's chocolate, then I can control the marketing of that, I can control the experience of that, I can control all those different things. If I put it up to you and ask you to sell it on my behalf, then I can still minimize it, because there's only 2 of us. Hopefully you're a reputable brand. If you're Tesco and I'm looking after you and things like that, then you're going to look after me. But imagine if there was the horse meat scandal. Do you remember that? That is going to damage my brand as well, because people aren't going to be going to Tesco, people aren't going to be going to Asda, whatever it is. I can't remember which ones it was. But my brand is potentially going to be damaged because of that. Also, you've got to think about it from the sense of we might be able to potentially give a better deal, and we don't have to worry about it. We don't have to spend the money on renting property. We don't have to spend the money on hiring retail staff and things like that. We'll let specialized people deal with that for us. But yeah, think about it it's an opportunity cost at the end of the day, isn't it? It's up to you to decide, are you willing to take the risk of someone messing up your brand, one of the intermediaries doing that, either in terms of customer service or after sales care or anything. I had a problem with Wix recently. I had a gas leak because of a Zanussi product. It was a gas hob. And I have to say that, other than a couple of people who were trying to fob me off, when I went in and spoke to the store manager about it, they were great, I have to say. And I've got to hold my hand up for that one. They annoyed me because some people tried to fob me off to the manufacturer, and I couldn't be bothered with it. Because at the end of the day, it's a gas leak and it's dangerous, but it's not Wix's fault. I'm not really bothered. I mean, ideally, I don't want anything to go wrong. I don't want any product to be dangerous. I don't want any product to go wrong. But if it does, just fix it. That's all I care about. If you're a retailer as well, don't fob me off and try and get me to go to the manufacturer. You made the deal, you make it right. And I can't stand it when people try and pass the buck. Someone like Amazon. Amazon are fantastic with stuff like this. They just give you the money back. Just fix the problem. I know that it's not your fault, Amazon, if you know, you sold me something and it broke. Just fix the problem. And I'm happy. And they say, bad experience, you tell 10 people. Good experience, you tell 2. All right, this is an unusual one. I'm telling you a lot more people. Yeah, a lot of the time, just fix the problem. But this is the danger of having intermediaries, and we can't control them to an extent. Now, in terms of this, it says, use a diagram to show the distribution channel for RYANAIR. Justify the most likely factor that would have been chosen the channel. Why might RYANAIR also benefit from controlling its own marketing? What benefits are there to the customer of this channel? Why might the individual look to book the flight? Be prepared to pay more for going through a travel agent? Intermediaries can be people like travel agents, stuff that essentially the brokers, aren't they? With that in mind, and I want you to pause the stream, pause the video, and just have a go at these questions for me. Let's have a look. All right, I'm going to go through some answers with you, but I just want you to spend a few minutes now and just have a think about these questions well, and have a go at it. So I want you to start with your manufacturer, draw a line, what to the next one, draw a line to the next one. So show me this multi-channel thing. How do they actually distribute? How do they get their tickets into people's hands? All right, so as I said, just pause it, have a go, and then okay. So let's have a little look at these. It says, why might RYANAIR also benefit from controlling its own marketing? This is an interesting one, isn't it? If you buy directly from RYANAIR, which I don't think RYANAIR have many distribution channels, though I don't think they use many intermediaries at all. I think they use brokers. I think you can buy them through, you can buy tickets through estate agents, travel agents and stuff like that. But I don't think you can, I don't think you can buy them through very many other places. The most thing RYANAIR is to do with low fares and bad quality a lot of the time from what you hear. Are people willing to pay, are willing to accept less of a product because it's cheaper? Yes, usually they are. So justify the most likely factor. Well, the most likely factor is direct, so 0 level. It's most likely that we'll go directly to them. Why might they also benefit from controlling its own marketing? Well, issues that have arisen with RYANAIR, with various things it's always in the news, isn't it, and things like that, about issues that have come about with the products and services. Can you sort of really do anything about it? They need to be in a position to be able to respond to things like this, really, and they don't want intermediaries dealing with it. They need to be able to deal with the service. Although that you can't imagine from a really, really cheap place that the intermediary sort of the lack of an intermediary would actually be a benefit. It would probably be a negative. Okay, so what benefits are to the customer of this channel? Well, they can deal with you directly, and remember, with RYANAIR, it's all about cheapness, it's all about price, it's all about getting the best deal you can. They can bring the price down. Lack of intermediaries means that they have less to pay, so therefore if they're less to pay, they can pass on those savings to you. And that's a big benefit to you as the customer. And why might an individual looking to book a flight be prepared to pay more for going through a travel agent? Because it takes all the hassle off you. And at the moment, when they were cancelling flights, somebody shutting airports and all sorts of stuff that is going on at the minute, if you book through a travel agent, you've got some kind of protection in the law. If you decide to do it yourself, you have less comeback, you have less worry. That atoll protected stuff and things like that of making sure that if the company goes under, you are protected. You wouldn't have that protection if you went, just for yourself. That's what you get. That's what you're paying for. Some kind of insurance as well. So these are the things we've got to consider when we're talking about the choice of distribution channel. Main one's cost, isn't it? That's the big one. Your control of your ability to control the way people see your product, how they sort of encounter you. Legal factors as well. Remember about the sort of legalities of your product or service and what the expectation will be you and the retailer. You've still got, there is still an expectation on you for your product to be safe, for it to be of good quality. All the Consumer Rights Act still apply to you, your statutory rights and stuff like that. They still apply, even if, and you will get retailers trying to palm people off to you. So you need to be aware of those legal expectations and legal factors that will determine that. And there will be certain types of products that you won't be able to go through intermediaries with, because of things like GDPR, passing people's information around and stuff like that. And finally, distribution channel as well. So is it other distribution channels even available to you? Is it easy to do these things? You know, for me at this moment in time, I'm getting this information out to you quite easily. I'm surprised at how easy this was to actually do. But then again, I'm a techie. I've got loads of kit. I've got all sorts of stuff already set up. So it's fine for me. It's no problem. I've got this. You know, I've got a back room. I didn't have a microphone at the time. I did have a mic, but I didn't have a microphone to this quality. So I went and got a microphone that did it. But to other people, it would be very difficult to distribute this kind of information out because they wouldn't have access to the same stuff that we have. That's all right. But you need to remember what kind of distribution channels we have access to, what kind of stuff do we have the ability to physically get involved with, and things like that. All right. So the longer the supply chain, the greater it might be to the final consumer. Remember, it can be the other way around, but because intermediary has its own costs and they want to make their own profit margin and things like that, the chances are it will probably increase the price to some extent. Short supply chains can be more costly than long supply chains. Like we said, we could be giving deals and deals and deals. All right. Again, another little bit of information on here. I think I've got a couple of slides like this, so please just take stop the stream here, have a little read, and then we'll go from there. All right. So the law may affect how a product is distributed. So, for example, prescribed goods can only be sold through licensed chemists. Alcohol, the seller must be licensed. And you remember, if you've ever been involved with this, especially 16 to 19-year-olds of having to deal with, is it if they look 20? If they don't look 21, they've got to be 25, or no. If they don't look 25, they've got to be 21 or something like that, or 18. Or how much? What age is it to become to drink alcohol? Is it 16 or 18? I think it's 18, isn't it? People always go, "Oh, I'm 18. I can have my first proper drink or whatever." I don't drink, so it's I'm a real freak like that. I don't drink anything. I don't even drink water. I just filter feed like this. I'm going to make sure, that I'm going to make sure that is the picture for today's video as well. I'm going to make sure that that's in, so I'll put that in a little bit. We've already talked a little bit about these, but remember, they're on here. As I said, feel free to grab it. Okay. Safety, another one. Products may require careful installation and maintenance. This is a big one, especially things like that. I had to get a licensed person in to come and do my gas and electric things. You have to get proper people in, building work and stuff like that, building regulations. It costs money, but you've got to get it done if you want to be able to do it properly. Usually the more technical the product, the more the manufacturer prefers to deal with the end user, and the way they can provide more information, control the sales pitch, so they can make sure that they're not being missold anything, which is an important thing at the end of the day, isn't it? It might be easy to plug in a freezer, but if it's something like an industrial lathe or an industrial sized fryer, then I think you'd probably want to deal with the manufacturer directly rather than just going to Currys. You wouldn't be able to go to Currys and buy one, would you? Okay, so in terms of this, there is just a couple of plenary stuff. You've got these in your books. So the only thing I'm just going to give to the stream, if you are someone who doesn't have the book but you want to have this, 18 to buy, get ID'd if you don't look 25. I've never been ID'd for anything. I think when I was 10, I was let into an 18 movie. I wasn't trying to, but it's the beard that does it. I look about 10 if I don't have the beard. Good looking beard, this, I think another thing as well is, what are people going to look like? Have you heard about this thing about people shaving their heads because they're on this lockdown thing? I haven't, by the way. I promise. It is. It's there. It's just a bit messy today, so that's why I've got my my beautiful bit of branding on. There we go. No direct stuff when I'm not getting any sponsorship stuff from them. So for each of the following products or brands, identify and justify the factor that will be most likely to take into account when deciding their preferred distribution channel. So just have a little think about it. Remember, it's your cost, it's your type of product, it is the other product, place, price, promotion. At the end of the day, it's linking back into the product and the marketing mix. But Gucci, petrol supplier, startup t-shirt manufacturer. Remember as well, that AO4, what do I keep saying? The situation, give me the situation and the significance. Situation, significance. Tell me whether it's significant to a big company, small company, well-established companies, whatever it is. That's what you need your AO4, bring it in, significance, yeah? Okay, ladies and gents. there we go. So that takes us to the end of today's stream to an extent. We are going to have a look at the news. I wouldn't do that to you. Don't worry, But just under an hour today. I told you it wasn't a really in-depth one. As I said, just something to have a little chat about, really. And you can definitely have a go with the workbooks and things like that. There's not that much to do with this. But one thing I would like to do is I do want to go through the news and I want to have a look at what's going on because it keeps me in check, to be honest, for more than anything as well. So let's have a look at BBC News today and see what's happening. This is something I've heard of. Police told to be consistent on lockdown powers. This is something that's been affecting people. I saw this on the news where police apparently have been like pulling people over for driving places and stuff like that. I don't really get that. I mean, surely if you're in your car, you're safe, aren't you? I think the idea is that you're not supposed to be going out and stuff, but yeah, but if you're in your car, surely that... I mean, don't quote me on this. I'm probably getting arrested now, but I'm not saying go out anywhere. Ideally stay in, but I don't see from a health perspective, I don't really see what the issue is. But what do I know? Oh, this is a good one. We were just talking about RYANAIR, weren't we? Let's have a look at this one. So it says, American Airlines, one of the world's richest carriers, says it will apply for $12 billion in government aid. British Airways is suspending all flights from London's Gatwick Airport, the UK's second busiest. UK health officials says the nationwide stay-at-home advice is making a difference. So that's good, but think about it from that as external environment affecting these businesses. Things like the travel sector at the minute is just absolutely shot, isn't it? Imagine if you're a self-employed travel agent. What the hell are you going to do? I know they've been talking about giving some statutory pay, but it's absolutely nothing, is it? Like £90 a week or something crazy. So have a think about it from the different perspectives. You've got it. It's happening worldwide. That's the only positive thing that's happening at the minute is the fact that yes, we are suffering, but we're all suffering. In terms of, at least from the business's perspective, that they won't be, like loads of, foreign countries doing really well and we're not doing well or something like that. It's not that. Hey, that's good, isn't it? Egypt beams messages of solidarity on the Great Pyramid. Messages of unity and solidarity with those combating the pandemic were projected onto Giza's Great Pyramid by Egypt's government on Monday night. I remember I always think when I think about this is An Idiot Abroad. Have you seen that with Carl Pilkington? He goes there, doesn't he? And he says it's like a bit of a dump, Egypt, in some respects. They have like plastic bags everywhere and like it's not as nice as you see on telly. I think that's always a worry, isn't it? Let's have a look back. So 3 out of 4 Americans under virus lockdown as more states impose restrictions. President Trump and governors quarrel over test kits. Supermarket sales in March busier than Christmas. Well, they would be, wouldn't they? So another one could be positive. As I said, think about it from this. If you want to invest in something, supermarkets are a fantastic one at the minute. Sales of groceries in the UK in March beat all previous records as shoppers stocked up for a long period at home, according to consumer analyst Kantar. The busiest spell was the 16th to 19th of March, when 88% of households visited a food store, adding up to 42 million extra trips across the 4 days. This is the reason why there is less stock on shelves. It's not because stock isn't getting through. It's because people are going to supermarkets every day. People are going crazy on it. And I must say, I did it the same. I went and got stuff. Of course you do. It's important to keep yourself safe and stuff like that, isn't it? But I was one of the freaking out ones right at the start. I went and did mine 2 weeks before everyone else, thinking I'm never going to use any of this. And I haven't really, to be honest. I had some noodles yesterday. I've got about 6 weeks worth of pasta. I haven't, not that much. So the figures have mainly risen because of people making extra shopping trips rather than spending on each visit. The average household spent an extra £62.92 during the past 4 weeks, equivalent to 5 days worth of groceries. So it's big, as I said, but it's good for supermarkets. It's good for the industry. Peter, have you seen them taking on? I mean, it's not good to be getting people out there when we're trying to protect people from coronavirus, but it's good from the sense that it's getting people jobs, isn't it? I know people are worried about jobs, but hey, what's this? House Party. This is this app as well. I don't know if anybody heard about this, but I saw this thing the other day. House Party. The owner of video chatting game app House Party is offering a 1 million reward, which is £810,000. Evidence for a company has been a victim of a commercial smear campaign. Online rumours allege that downloading the app led to the other services such as Netflix and Spotify being hacked. The company said there was no evidence to back up those claims. House Party has become one of the most downloaded apps in several countries, including the UK, amid restrictions to stop the spread of coronavirus. According to Apptopia, downloads of the app rose from an average of 130,000 to a midweek to 2 million a week in middle of March. Online gaming firm Epic Games, which also makes Fortnite, purchased House Party. Oh, that's clever. They're bloody good, aren't they? Epic Games, absolutely smashing it. Fortnite, they own Fortnite and they own this. That's clever. It's almost like they knew this was coming. We are investigating indications that the recent hacking rumours were spread by a paid commercial smear campaign to harm House Party. We're offering a £1 million bounty for the first individual to provide proof such a campaign. Oh, imagine that. I want to do that. Let's do it. Let's all get together and let's get out there and try and find something. And if we do it, let's divvy up the winnings. But if I win, I'm not divvying any of them up. All right. Final one. Let's see one more from today, and then I will leave you be. Let's see. What have we got? I think I read this. Yeah, this is from a while ago. People are noticing this. You know what? I want to draw your attention to this. If you get a chance today, go on to the BBC News and have a look at this. My Disabled Son's Amazing Gaming World in the World of Warcraft. This is a guy had quite a severely disabled son who was able to go onto World of Warcraft, which, if you don't know, is an MMO, a massively multiplayer online game, and have a life. And have an amazing life. As you can see there, the chap's obviously very disabled, but he was able to have this amazing life, and he could be the person he wants to be. And this is one of the big powers of massively online multiplayer games. I know it can affect people, and people start being a bit silly with it and living their lives through it. But look at this guy. He's able to go on adventures, and he's able to go and live that life which he can't do. He's able to have access to a real body. A virtual life. But why is a virtual life any different? He could have relationships, he can have, adventures that he would never be able to have in person. Go and have a look at it. As I said, go onto the BBC News' website. It's by Vicky, is it Shalbert? Really interesting. As I said, I remember reading that when it came out, and just an inspiring bit. We need some inspiring stuff. It hasn't just happened. It was actually written after his son passed away, I think. And they had a big thing on World of Warcraft to sort of to mark his passing. But what a life the guy had, what an impact he had on the gaming world, and what an impact he had on a lot of people's lives. And it's impressive, something that we need to spend some time thinking about, and look at the positives of these kind of things at this moment in time. Okay, ladies and gents. I will call it there. Okay, well, thank you very much for joining me. I hope it's been useful. Get on with stuff. Remember, 10 a.m. every day, be back here, weekdays that is at this moment in time, and for some more business stuff. I'm Mr. Businessman. I will see you tomorrow. Bye bye.